There are a lot of nonprofits operating in the state of California who are allegedly tasked with alleviating homelessness or providing services to homeless people living in California. There has been no oversight of how they're spending that money, whether what they're doing is effective. It is a huge problem and it is a huge racket. And anyone who dared bring this issue up and anyone who dared to ask for oversight of these nonprofit programs was immediately talked down, was immediately smeared as someone who doesn't believe in helping homeless people, when in reality, we're living in one of the most expensive states in the country. We want to help people and we want to see programs that are actually effective. When we see the problem get worse year after year and we take a look at where the grants are going and we're noticing these, nonprofits are a little shady, I think it's fair to call them into question. Now, going back to the programs that this audit looked into, the 3 programs that couldn't be proven to be cost effective received a total of $9.4 billion in taxpayer money since 2020. Tragically, the problem keeps getting worse, with homelessness in the state growing another 6% from 2022 to 2023. Since 2013, homelessness has grown by 53%.
All right, guys, so stories like this is why I never let liberals or far leftists guilt trip me about how I don't want to pay taxes, okay? You're right. When people be like, oh, conservatives don't want to pay taxes, you're selfish. Yep, you're damn straight, right? And it's not that I'm selfish. It's simply that I don't trust the government. I don't think that the government is a good capital allocator, okay? I think that capital allocation is done best by individuals who specialize in capital allocation, AKA businesses, okay? Businesses are efficient. The government is not efficient. So when we give our money to government to do things that businesses should be doing, of course, you're going to have bad results because the government is not incentivized to be efficient. All they do is just throw money at a problem, okay? They don't have a profit motive, okay? They don't have a motive to save costs or to, stick to a budget, okay? Because we just print money out of thin air whenever we don't have money, okay? Just print more. So yeah, you're gonna get a disaster, okay? You're gonna get a lot of corruption and chaos, and the problem that you're trying to solve is not gonna be solved because there is no incentive to solve it, right? If you actually solve the problem, then the money stops flowing in for the individuals that are supposed to be solving the problem. So if the problem never gets solved, in fact, if it gets worse, then you just throw more money at it, right? And then you have the people that are benefiting from this, not the homeless, right? Not the people that are supposed to benefit from it, getting rich. And that's exactly what's happening out in California, as they basically lost $20 billion that is supposed to have went to fixing the homelessness problem. Now, we already know the end of this story because everybody knows that California is a shithole. So their homelessness population has went up over the years. In fact, it is basically went up exponentially over the past decade or so, even despite the spending, right? Spending billions of dollars, the homelessness problem is getting worse. Now, how does that work? Well, the reason why it works that way is because the government and their partners, aka their buddies, their nonprofit buddies, their liberal nonprofit buddies, progressive nonprofit buddies, don't have a real incentive to solve the problem, okay? Because they want to keep using taxpayer money in order to enrich themselves. That's kind of how it goes. So that is what this story is about, because again, $20+ billion spent in California to solve homelessness that did not work at all. So without further ado, let's get to it.
A scathing new report tonight about California's response to the homeless crisis. The state auditor says the state has spent $20 billion in 5 years, but can't meaningfully track the spending or measure results.
Well, KCAL News reporter Joy Benedict is live in North Hollywood tonight with more. Joy?
Yeah, guys, I mean, this was a very lengthy audit that was put out by the state earlier today. And what it shows is really everyone's fear, right? That we're throwing a lot of money at a problem and the problem isn't going to be fixed. And although that may be what the audit says on surface level, those who work with the homeless say it's just not that simple.
AKA the people that benefit from this, the people that are getting paid, the nonprofits, right, that are getting the money, they say, well, it's not that simple. You don't understand. Even though you've spent billions and billions and billions of dollars to clean up this problem. And the people that are getting the money, aka us, we're not actually really solving the problem. No, you don't understand. It's more complicated. Okay, so the money has to keep rolling in. In fact, you got to spend more, right? You have to spend more. That's essentially what is going to be argued here.
In a community like the Arts District of North Hollywood, the streets are always packed with patrons, neighbors, and the unhoused.
They clear them and then they come back, then they clear them and then they come back.
I've only been in the area since 2018, and in those few years I've seen it increase almost exponentially. It is very sad.
Numbers a new state audit confirm, as the state legislative audit committee released a report saying that homeless numbers jumped 53% in the last decade, with an estimated 180,000 people unhoused in California. That's despite the spending of more than $20 billion to stop it.
Again, this is ridiculous, right? Imagine $20 billion in taxpayer funds going to solve a problem, and the problem got worse, exponentially worse. Again, it's at some point, again, you got to ask the question of, again, was the money used to increase homelessness, right? Because that's what it seems like to me. There seems to be a correlation between the money spent to stop homelessness and actual homelessness going up, okay? That seems to be the issue. But again, imagine living in a place like California where you're paying taxes out the ass, okay? You're paying so many taxes, okay? And that tax money is not being used to clean up problems like, again, people not having a place to stay or being out on the streets. If you're going to pay all that money to the government, best believe the public services better be top notch, right? I better not see no homeless person on the street, okay? You talking about paying 35, 40, 50%, 55% of your income to the government, and you still got homeless people everywhere. You still have a terrible public transportation system. It's still dirty, okay? I mean, has anybody been to LA lately? Okay, not really a great place to be, okay? Crime is out of control. What are you paying for? What are you paying for at that point? Again, this is why I don't like paying taxes. Again, it's not that I'm selfish. It's not that I don't want to help people out. I definitely want to do that. But I want to be able to evaluate the causes that I want to give money to so that I know, okay, I'm giving my money to a cause that's going to be effective. I'm not just going to be throwing my money away to the government and say, hey, government, you do what you want with my money, and it ends up being a waste. That's the worst. That's the absolute worst. So again, when anybody tries to guilt trip you on wanting lower taxes and not wanting to pay out all your money to the government and give your hard-earned money to the government, you just point to stories like this and say, this is why. This is exactly why.
Reaction is that this is a big problem.
Political analyst Jessica Levinson says the even bigger issue in the report is the lack of accountability, as the audit can't verify that 3 of the 5 homeless programs the state is funding are working.
And the government is failing to account for where the money is being used and if it's being used wisely.
They're not.
See, again, this is the difference between a government program and a business, right? In a business, if you're going to invest $20 billion, you're going to have KPIs, okay, key performance indicators that can tell you whether or not the program is working. The government, they don't have an incentive to do that, right? They just throw money at the problem. If it don't work, they just either throw more or they say, oh, well, whatever, right? They don't have to answer to anybody in regards to, okay, why is it that all this money was spent and we didn't get anything out of it? Businesses actually have things to lose. Government don't have anything to lose, okay? And this is, again, what I say in terms of the difference between the efficiency of a business versus the efficiency of the government. How in the world do you have a program when you throw $20 billion at solving a problem and you don't even set up performance indicators to know whether or not you're actually really solving a problem? It's because the point was not to really solve the problem in the first place. The point was to get their friends paid, the elites paid that are running these nonprofits and these entities that are supposed to be using the government money to solve the problem.
Saying the money was misused. They're saying they just can't account for where the money went.
There
Ridiculous.
certainly are no allegations here of misappropriation of funds, but this is just a black hole in a space where we need information.
But those who work with the homeless say it's just not that simple.
The key reason that our homeless numbers are going up is because more people are falling into homelessness.
Stephanie Klasky Gamer is the CEO of LA Family Housing, which helped 15,000 people last year alone, either experiencing homelessness or fighting to save their home.
Notice how she said the key or the reason why homelessness is going up because more people are falling into homelessness. That's not actually why, right? I mean, that's not the reason why. You're not articulating why that is happening, okay? You're not getting to the core problem, the core issue of why you have this homelessness population. But again, that tells you everything you need to know. You got a person that is supposed to be running a nonprofit to help fix the homelessness problem, but she can't tell you why the problem is there in the first place or why these people continue to fall into homelessness. She's saying, well, they're homeless because they're homeless, right? Which again, I mean, how can you solve the problem if that's what you're saying the issue is? It's crazy. It's insane.
Funds that were audited were all emergency response programs that came out during the pandemic.
She says she knows how her agency's dollars were spent, but since state dollars are mixed with local funding, they just may be harder to trace statewide.
I imagine that gathering data because of how these funds were released is more challenging, not because the funds haven't had an impact.
The two programs the audit said are clearly working are CalWorks and Project Homekey.
Project Homekey dollars were used to purchase motels. So that's an easy quantifiable measure. You received $100 million and you bought 10 motels.
But she says
okay, but how many people that you get off the streets, right? How many people that are now housed did you pull off the street, right? How many people did you actually really help? That's the real key performance indicator. It's not how many hotels did you buy. Nobody cares about that. What we actually care about, how many people did you get off the streets? Again, amazing. The people who are getting these funds, they can't even give you basic data on how the entities that they've set up are doing. Okay, they can't even give you any basic data. It's crazy.
The bottom line is the funds used to fight homelessness are key, not only for those living on the streets, but everyone in this state.
Homelessness is a crisis that responds to resources.
AKA give us more money, right? Give us more money. But clearly what she's saying is not true in the sense of the money being used, and the more money that you use, the more that you solve the problem. That's not the case, right? What she probably really meant was, well, the more money that you spend, the worse the problem gets, which is good for, you know, her because she gets more money, right? The state just keeps throwing money at the problem. Again, this is corruption. This is corruption. This is rotten to the core. From top to bottom, corruption. And the taxpayers are the ones that are footing the bill. They're the ones that are suffering from this. And also the homeless as well, too, because they're not getting the help that they actually really need.
Something else interesting I found in this report is there was another section that talked about the number of people that were helped. It was about 321,000 statewide that were taken off the streets, either into permanent housing or temporary housing. And of the 250,000 or so that ended up in temporary housing, only 13% of them left to then go into permanent housing. Obviously, that is something that any agency here wants to fix. I'll send it back to you.
All right, thanks so much.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Again, liberals can't even be liberal right? They can't be liberal correctly, okay? They throw a bunch of money at the problem. They don't set up a system to actually audit the money and to see where the money's going and whether or not it's actually working. And then lo and behold, you spent billions of dollars and the problem has gotten worse. But again, it's done on purpose. It's done on purpose, 100%. 100%. Guys, if California can't even audit $20 billion to fix homelessness, what do you think we're doing with the money that's going to Ukraine? You think we know where that money's going to a foreign country and what it's being used for? We have no clue whatsoever, bruh. We have no clue whatsoever. That's why you get all these stories popping up about, you know, the corruption in Ukraine and how U.S. taxpayer dollars are funding things that the politicians didn't tell us that this is what it was supposed to be funding, right? It's because, again, the funds are not audited. The government is so inefficient. And stories like this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is why, personally, I just, you know, I'm against paying these types of exorbitant taxes, especially when the government hasn't proven that they can use the money efficiently to solve the problems that they claim they're trying to solve. Again, a lot of it is used as corruption, is money laundering back to the politicians through these nonprofits and these entities that they hire to fix the problem, but don't really fix the problem, because if they fix the problem, then again, they won't get government money. Again, it's just completely and rotten from top to bottom. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.